Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK. I am Pooja Divedi, and in this segment we bring to you objective questions on a daily basis to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the practice question of last segment, which said, which of the following X-ray observatory was used in recently detected X-rays from Uranus? So if we talk about recently detected X-rays from the planet Uranus, it was actually observed by Chandra X-ray Observatory. Alright, keep that in mind. So let's move on and look at the explanation. Recently, National Aeronautics and Space Administration astronomers have detected X-rays from the seventh planet of our solar system, Uranus, and the results were obtained through NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. It is a telescope specially designed to detect X-ray emissions from very hot regions of the universe such as exploded stars, clusters of galaxies and matters around black hole. Astronomers have also come up with two possible explanations for it. The first one is saying that the rings of Uranus may be the reason behind this phenomenon. And the second explanation is saying that some of the X-rays may be coming from auroras on the planet. Let's look at the first question of today's GK. Consider the following statements about Archaeological Survey of India. It is the premier organization for the archaeological research and protection of the cultural heritage of the nation, and it was founded before independence, currently administered by the Ministry of Culture. So yes, if we have to choose the correct option, the correct statement actually, yes, the first one, which is saying that it is the premier organization for the archaeological research and as well as protection of the cultural heritage of the nation, is correct, and it does come under the Ministry of Culture. It was founded as a pre-independence organization in the year 1861 by Alexander Cunningham, who was also the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. So both the statements are correct. The correct answer to this question is option C. ASI under the Ministry of Culture. Yes, we have already discussed the first statement, and if we talk about its activities, it's inclusive of carrying out surveys of antiquarian remains, exploration and excavation of archaeological sites, conservation and maintenance of protected monuments, etc. And it was founded in the year 1861. We have already discussed this. And Alexander Cunningham is also known as the father of Indian archaeology. Moving on. The autocratization goes viral report recently seen in the news is released by which of the following? So, recently India was tagged as an electoral autocracy, and it was given, this particular report is given by Sweden-based Varieties of Democracy Institute, right? So, let's look at the explanation. Correct option, option A. Now, we have already discussed about the first thing that India has been classified as an electoral autocracy, and it's an annual report. The name is Autocratization Goes Viral of Sweden-based Varieties of Democracy Institute, and this report comes just after the US watchdog Freedom House downgraded India's status to partly free in its Freedom in the World 2021 report. Here is another information that US watchdog Freedom House, it releases the report, and it releases the report by the name of Freedom in the World 2021. Keep that in mind. And it has also downgraded India's position to, if we talk about what position does it hold now, partly free. Alright, moving on. Let's look at the next question. Consider the following statements about Energy Efficiency Enterprise Certifications Program. It is an initiative of the Ministry of Power for the bricks manufacturing sector, and the certification will be provided by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency and is mandatory for the bricks industry. So what do we have to do here? We have to select the correct statement. Now if we talk about the Energy Efficiency Enterprise Certification Program, it is the initiative of Ministry of Power. This is correct, and it is for brick manufacturing sector, and the certification will be provided by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. This part of the sentence of the second statement is also correct, but it is not mandatory for the brick industry but voluntary. Keep that in mind. So, the second statement being incorrect, the first being correct. The correct answer to this question would be option A, one only. Moving on to the explanation. Now, the Ministry of Power has launched energy efficiency enterprise certification programs for the brick manufacturing sector, and the certification, as discussed, will be provided by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. It's an initiative to recognize burnt clay brick manufacturers who adopt energy efficient manufacturing and encourage customers to source bricks from such E3 certified manufacturing units, and the adoption of the E3 certification is currently voluntary for the brick industry. Moving on, consider the following statements about Bhavna. It is a traditional form of entertainment with religious messages prevalent in Assam, and it is the creation of Vaishnava saint reformer Shankaradev, and the plays of Bhavna are popularly known as Ankya Nuts. Now, if we talk about Bhavna, yes, it's a traditional form of entertainment which has religious messages and it's prevalent in Assam. This is correct. Alright. And the second statement, which is saying that it is a creation of Vaishnava saint reformer Shankaradev. This is also correct. And the third statement is saying the plays of Bhavna are popularly, that means in common parlance, are known as Ankya Nuts. These three statements are correct. The correct answer to this question is option D. Bhavna is a traditional form of entertainment with religious messages prevalent in Assam. We have talked about its creator, Srimant Shankaradev, who was a Vaishnava saint born in 1449 AD in Nagaon district of Assam, and he started the Neo-Vaishnavite movement. Also, initially he wrote his prose in Sanskrit, but later he used Assamese and Brajavali. The plays of Bhavna are popularly known as Ankya Nuts, and their staging is known as Bhavna. And let's talk about development financial institutions. DFIs provides long-term finance for such segments of the economy where the risks involved are beyond the acceptable limits of commercial banks, and like banks, DFIs do accept deposits from the people and they source their funding from the market, government as well as multilateral institution. Here also we have to select the correct statement. If we talk about DFIs, they of course provide long-term finance for such segments of the economy which are commercially not that risk-free. Like banks may try to mitigate their risk, and DFIs talk about giving long-term loans to those sectors of the economies that have huge gestation period or risks are large. So that is why they provide loans where risks involved are beyond the acceptable limits of commercial banks. And like banks, DFIs do accept deposits from people is incorrect. They do not. DFIs do not accept deposits from people, and they take their funding from the markets, the government as well as multilateral institutions. So only the first and the third. Second is not correct. So the correct answer to this question would be 1 and 3 only. Option C. DFIs are set up for providing long-term finance for such segments of the economy where the risks involved are beyond the acceptable limits of commercial banks and other ordinary financial institutions. And we have already discussed the second statement and the third statement as well. And DFIs are often supported through government guarantees. Moving on, consider the following statements about aerosols. Some aerosols are reflective. That is, when the sun's rays beam down on them, they bounce the rays back out of the atmosphere. That means they reflect the sun's rays. And mist, dust, particulate air pollutants and smoke are examples of anthropogenic aerosols. We have to select the correct statement. Yes, some aerosols of course are reflective in nature. That means when the sun's rays get to them and it hits the surface of aerosols, it is reflected back. This is correct. And the second statement, which is saying that mist, dust, particulate matter as well as smoke all are made from human activities or anthropogenic activities. This is incorrect because if we talk about natural causes of aerosols, they are mist and dust. Whereas particulate matter, particulate air pollutants and as well as smoke. These two are from human activities. So the second statement is incorrect. Only the first statement being correct. The correct answer to this question is option A. An aerosol is a suspension of fine solid particles or liquid droplets in air or another gas, and they can be natural or anthropogenic. Examples of natural aerosols are fog, mist, dust, forest, exudates, and geyser system. Examples of anthropogenic aerosols are particulate air pollutants and smoke. Some aerosols, like many kind of dust from ground up rocks, are light colored and even a little bit reflective. And when the sun's rays beam down on them, they bounce the rays back out of the atmosphere, preventing that heat from ever reaching the Earth's surface. Which of the following channels is located near Taiwan? Now, this question has been asked because of the collision of a packed train and a vehicle, which is seen to be worst accident ever. And if we talk about this region, it is known as Bashi Channel. Here only the accident has happened. Alright, let's see it. So, recently 50 people were killed in Taiwan when a packed train collided with a vehicle on the tracks and then derailed inside a tunnel in the island's worst railway accident in decades. And if you see the position of Bashi Channel, it's here. So the accident has actually happened here. And even this particular region is very much in news. So be very careful with the geography of islands, the straits, the channels of South China Sea. Alright, moving on, let's talk about our next question. Dastane-Delhi, recently seen in the news, is related to which of the following? So Dastane-Delhi is actually related to a partition museum. Now, partition of India and Pakistan and artifacts related to that era is situated here, has been kept in this museum, Dastane-Delhi. Dastane-Delhi is a partition museum, an extension of Amritsar's partition museum. Be very thorough with the facts of Amritsar partition museum as well. Will come up at the Dara Sikh Library building in Old Delhi. Museum is aimed at creating a cultural hub at the historic and beautiful Dara Sikh Library. It will be a unique space in which we can consider the impacts of divisions, the partition of India, and unification as through the Sufism of Dara Sikh side by side. And the museum has narratives of the individuals who were impacted and involved apart from memorabilia and material memory. It will also have displays on what Delhi looked like before and after the partition. Moving on, consider the following statements regarding World Cities Cultural Forum. It is a forum of 25 world cities. This year's theme is the future of culture. India is participating in this forum, so we have to select the correct statement. If we talk about World Cities Cultural Forum, it is a forum of 40 world cities and not 25. And India is participating in this forum, and the theme is the future of culture for this year. So only the second and the third being correct. The correct answer to this question would be option B. 2 and 3 only. The World Cities Culture Forum convenes to provide a way for policymakers in 40 world cities. Its aim is to share research and intelligence and explore the vital role of culture in their future prosperities. This year's theme of the forum is the future of culture. Moving on, Chief Minister of Delhi will be representing the city and India at this particular forum. Moving on, flue gas desulfurization technology that cut emissions of sulfur dioxide in thermal power plants uses which of the following rocks? So, if we talk about flue gas desulfurization technology, it is actually relevant to limestone. Alright? So the correct option to this question is option C. Moving on. Government had initially set a 2017 deadline for thermal power plants to install flue gas desulfurization units that cut emissions of sulfur dioxide. The deadlines have now been pushed to 2022, allowing utilities that miss the new target to continue operating after paying a penalty, and the FGD technology is based on a chemical reaction that occurs when the warm exhaust gases from the coal-fired boilers come into contact with limestones, and this reaction removes 92% of the sulfur dioxide from the flue gas and converts the limestone into calcium sulfide. Let's look at our practice question for the next segment. Consider the following statements regarding Talcher thermal power plant. It is under the Odisha government and it has been shut down temporarily due to an interrupted coal supply. So, we have to select the correct statement from this. I hope you will be able to answer it correctly in the comment segment. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.